So for this week on Cyber School, we're covering a topic and kind of more of a question that we get quite a bit in both our sales and our technical support pre-sales area, and that's how you pick a speaker. Because at CyberData, we got a whole host of speakers, and it can get kind of complicated. So what kind of speakers do we have at CyberData? Well, we've got four different main offerings if we just look at the actual flavors of the speakers. Of course, not incorporating Informicast and Synapse variabilities and outdoor variants. We're only talking about indoor today. But we've got four main types of speakers. And we're, of course, just going to be covering the SIP-compatible versions, but a lot of these are also available in an Informicast or, in some scenarios, a Synapse version. So the four main offerings that we have, starting from the top, the premium, are our Talkback SIP speaker, part number 011398, our standard SIP speaker, not Talkback, part number 011394, our VoIP SIP multicast speakers available in both a wall mount and a ceiling mount, part number 011511 and part number 011512, and finally our multicast speakers, also available in a ceiling or wall mount, part numbers 011458 and part number 011487. So why the heck do we have so many options? A speaker makes sound. That's all it does. Why do you need more than one? Well, honestly, there's speakers for different scenarios and different requirements. Some areas you need more capability out of a speaker, meaning you need a bigger speaker, more noise. And in some areas, you don't really need that. And in some areas, say if we just had that big fancy speaker with the big speaker cone and all the accessory support, that's kind of an expensive speaker when you're putting it in a hallway that might get used occasionally for emergency notification. It just doesn't necessarily make sense as, say, a reseller or installer to recommend, say almost a $600 speaker if you incorporate also mounting hardware, when you could have a much, much cheaper option that could do the exact same thing. So that's one of the big reasons that we have so many different options. But it's, again, just to adapt to any scenario and requirement that there might be for a particular location. And we'll kind of work from the bottom up in the idea here. So for our multicast speaker line, that's kind of our base point, our entry point. They're really good for filler speakers, where you just need that notification to get out and you don't need that individual addressability, meaning a call or a notification to a single speaker that you could get with one of our SIP-enabled products. So if you just need speakers for, again, a hallway or a larger, say, auditorium or a classroom, or a larger classroom, say an arts and crafts classroom, you don't really need that individual addressability. Multicast speakers are perfect for that because they can offset the cost capability and have that limited feature set, because all you need is multicast in that kind of a scenario. But sometimes you want a more modern looking speaker, and you also might have the capability to use that SIP functionality, or might have a phone system that can handle zoned paging via SIP extension. And a key example of that, one of our big platforms that we work with, is RingCentral has that capability, where it combines that mass notification via multicast and or via SIP. And it also gives you that capability for individual paging because of the built-in SIP functionality. As we move towards our more premium line, our SIP speakers, again, are perfect for that mass notification because they support multicast. They also support SIP, being in the name, they're SIP speakers, so they support SIP. So they're good for that individual paging, but how they build on top of that base level of the multicast or the VoIP SIP multicast speakers is they have that accessory support capability. And that really makes these guys the flagships of the CyberData speaker offering. And as we finally move towards the Talkback speaker option, the creme de la creme, the best, the top line, the top shelf, the good, that would be, of course, mass notification, individual paging, accessory support, and support, since it's a Talkback speaker, for two-way conversation. So that makes them really perfect for, say, classrooms in K through 12 scenarios. And this would be like a regular classroom, not like, say, an arts and craft classroom or something like that, where, you're going to be dealing with a bigger volume and you might not want that two-way conversation capability. But I'm thinking of, your standard second, third grade, classroom where kids aren't really moving around and they're kind of, they're in that classroom all day besides being, out to recess or out for lunch. A Talkback speaker is really advantageous advantageous in that particular classroom. And that's where these top of the line, top shelf speakers come in. And of course, when you're dealing with the regular SIP speaker, they also have multiple mounting options, which makes them really versatile to go into any environment, whether you need something like a conduit mount, a ceiling mount, a wall mount, or a clock kit. You've got a lot of different capability to actually mount these different speakers. So let's take a little bit more look at these speakers in depth. So when you're dealing again with our multicast speakers, kind of our entry point level, they start at $294 MSRP, which is a really good starting point to make them very cost competitive in a lot of different environments. Available in both a ceiling mount or a wall mount variety. And the nice thing with these is depending on which one you get, it has the mounting hardware already included. So you don't need to deal with, oh crap, I'm getting 10 speakers and I need 10 mounting kits. If you get the ceiling mount, they mount in the ceiling. They're ready to go. Or if you get the wall mount, they come with all of the wall mounting hardware in with it. So that way you don't need to deal with anything else. It makes it very, very easy to go and install these guys. They support up to 10 different multicast zones. So it makes it very, very powerful for zoned paging where you've got your emergency level paging, priority level 9 will play over any other multicast paging groups. And then at the bottom, you've got your multicast priority 0, your background music that can play when the speaker isn't in use. So it makes it really, really versatile and good for, again, that kind of filler speaker. They're great for zoned mass notification. Again, the examples that I gave are places like auditoriums, big, say, lunch areas, cafeterias, or hallways, where you just need that zoned mass notification, not that individual addressability. But with only that multicast support, they might not be perfect to just use on their own and say just use the multicast speaker line in an entire building or a design. You might want to combine that with other speakers where, say, you only need that individual addressability that you can get with a mid-tier or high-tier speaker, and you can really offset the cost in areas where you don't need that individual addressability with the multicast speakers. Again, we kind of refer to these at CyberData internally as filler speakers. As we move up the chain here, we've got our VoIP SIP multicast speakers. And these are kind of your middle of the road, good capability in terms of software feature set. No accessory support with these ones, but they have a good software feature set that makes them very cost competitive and very feature competitive if you look at other speakers in the market. These ones launch at $389 MSRP, of course available in both a ceiling mount and a wall mount, just like the multicast variants, and they also come with that mounting hardware included. They support multicast, of course, with 10 different multicast paging groups. So again, you get that emergency zone notification, highest priority, and your background music is your lowest priority. So that way you get a lot of different ways to handle that kind of paging as you go through it. Finally, with the SIP support, it adds 2 different extensions that you can utilize with it. It has what we call our paging or our primary extension, as we refer to it in the CyberData realm. And that's kind of your just regular voice paging where you want to pick up a phone and make an announcement through a speaker. Can be directly because these support SIP, or on platforms that support it, such as Ring Central, AT&T Office at Hand, so on and so forth. You can page to multiple speakers using SIP through that particular phone system. Not all support that, which is why these also come with multicast, and you can pair it with products like the CyberData SIP paging server for that multicast zoning capability. But it also has that Night Ringer support. And Night Ringer is kind of a name for an extension type that we use at CyberData, not necessarily industry standard, but it's a loud ringer extension that when called, it rings. So it makes these speakers absolutely perfect to put in areas, say like an office, a sales floor area, or maybe in a shipping and receiving area. And you can tie that into, say, a ring group from a CyberData intercom or just a regular call to a sales line. So that way, not only all of the phones are ringing, but also the speaker system overhead is ringing to give you that additional ringing notification. And then when that call is answered, the speaker returns to its normal state, maybe playing some background music, maybe playing some white noise or pink noise or what have you. The speaker returns that normal status after that normal idle status after receiving a night ringer call. So that makes these speakers really, really versatile and very adaptable to different situations. As we move up the chain here, getting into our premium line, we've got our standard SIP speaker that retails at $491 MSRP. So these ones are going to have a bigger speaker cone and speaker diaphragm as compared to the multicast or the VoIP SIP multicast speakers. And they've got a different driver for the actual speaker itself. So they're going to get you a little bit more of a premium sound quality as compared to the other speakers. Not to say the other speakers sound bad and they're not premium. This one is just, it's got better hardware in it, so it's going to sound a little bit better. The other ones still sound good, but these ones are a little bit better just because it's a bigger speaker mean more sound, and better amplifier chip on it means that you can do more with it. This particular speaker can be driven at two different power levels. It can be driven at your standard PoE 15.4 watts, and you get a modest amount of sound from it, but you can also give it full power PoE AT Alpha Tango, or also known as PoE Plus, and it gives you that 30 watts of power to play with. And of course, with more watts means more sound. It goes a little bit higher than 11, so you can get some more sound out of it. The nice thing with these is that they come on their own when you buy the particular speaker. So it gives you the capability to adapt the mounting option to the particular location that you're putting it in. Most of the times in classrooms, we find that most customers are going to be using either our standard wall mount, which is not offensive, sits on the wall, very nice metal enclosure with nice rounded corners, or we've got a clock kit mount that basically extends that same wall mount and adds in a digital clock for that timekeeping capability, which makes it really, really good in that style, of course, for a classroom where being able to tell time is important, but things like break areas, maybe a staff lounge, or places where people might go take a break and you want them to know what time it is so that way they come back from their break on time. But we've also got different mounting options because you might not want to put one of these speakers on your wall, or you might not be able to. Say in the case of a wood shop area where you're going to be dealing with cinder block walls, you might not be mounting, one of these speakers to the actual, cinder block wall. You might instead use a conduit mount. And we've got those options available. We've also got a ceiling mount option. So that way you can use them with drop tiles. We also have this unit just already put into a 2x2 ceiling tile drop-in if you want to just buy the ceiling tile and the speaker together, or we also sell the mounting hardware actually for the ceiling mount by itself. So that way, if you want to use your own ceiling tile, but just buy our speaker, you can do that. This does mean that just buying the speaker isn't enough. You really should be getting a bit of mounting hardware with it. And that comes with that kind of premium style where you get to choose your mounting option and you're not kind of locked into a mounting option like you would be with, say, our multicast or our VoIP SIP multicast style. These ones, of course, as we've gone down the line, all support multicast, and this one's going to support, of course, the 10 different multicast priorities as kind of a standard that you get with all CyberData products. And of course, since this is a SIP speaker, it's going to have both that paging and night ringer extension. So that way you get the full gambit of that multicast support and both paging and night ringing capability, which makes it perfect for any kind of situation. But the real selling point for these speakers isn't, necessarily the premium sound quality or the fact that you can, mount it in the ceiling or mount it to some conduit. It's that accessory support. And that's where these speakers really shine. These speakers have the capability to either run a separate auxiliary or accessory speaker to really kind of double the sound output from one of these speakers. You've got two things making sound instead of one, so two is more than one equals more sound. But I find the most popular accessory that we get with a lot of these speakers is going to be our strobe kit. And that provides a blinking visual notification when the speaker is in use. And since it's an LED-based strobe, it's actually an RGBW strobe, so you've got that option for white, ADA compliance, but it gives you that capability to have different colors and different illumination or blink patterns based on the notification. So, of course, your emergency can blink red and kind of breathe in and out and, be very, very topical and very easy to see. But for non-emergency, you might have blue that is just kind of a fast blink, or maybe a green that kind of glows and brightens and it's a little bit easier. Or for areas where you might need it, full ADA compliance because they're an RGBW strobe, which means that they have a full LED just for doing white, which not all do. Most of the time, it's going to be a combination of red, blue, and green to create white. Ours have a full white LED on it, so that way you don't need that. We've got that proper RGBW. It's actual white, not that fake white that you can get with other styles of LEDs. And finally, we move to the creme de la creme, the best speaker, our SIP Talkback speaker. This one premiums at a little bit higher. This one is 527 MSRP, and of course, it's going to have the same speaker capabilities as the standard SIP speaker. It's kind of sister product, so you still get that premium sound quality. You get all the different mounting options that you would get with a regular SIP speaker, in addition to the standard multicast support, the SIP support, the accessory support, but also it comes with that built-in microphone, which is really powerful. Again, for that talkback capability, you can have that full duplex conversation, but it also is one of the only products we have at CyberData that has what we call as a health check. And what the health check does is, at say a predetermined interval or at a specific time that you set, it's going to go through and play a series of tones and record those tones back. And it's going to run that through an algorithm and compare the original file that it played to what it recorded and give you an idea of the actual health of the speaker and the different frequencies that the speaker is tuned for. So that way and you can check remotely on the health of your speaker. It's very useful in areas where you need to have that emergency notification system working and known to be working in these different environments. So that way you can go and run the health check and have confidence in your speaker that it's working. And it's also really advantageous and helpful for, say, resellers or installers that are managing offering managed services to their different customers, where you might get a report that, hey, my speaker is not working properly. And instead of having to send boots out on the ground to go and check the adjustable volume wheel and realize that was scrolled all the way down and the speaker's fine, you can initiate the health check remotely and see, okay, no, the speaker's playing sound and it's recording it. The speaker's functional. Maybe there's a user problem, and you can go and check and find some of the other ways there. So it can also save a lot of time there. But the other accessory that this unit is really more designed for, that you can't use with, say, you could use with the regular SIP speaker, wouldn't really make sense to, is the remote call button. And what this allows is for the SIP talkback speaker to actually generate a call from the speaker itself. So we've had a lot of different classrooms actually opt away from using a dedicated desk phone and a speaker in their classroom and just use the actual talkback speaker in their classroom for most communication options there, because a lot of schools are going to be switching to a hosted platform. And with the as prevalent as these different hosted options are out there, of course, Central that we shout out all the time, Zoom or Cisco WebEx, they all come with an application on your cell phone. And all of your teachers are going to have cell phones. So if the front office needs to do a little bit more discreet call, they don't want to let everybody know in the classroom that, Johnny might be in trouble, or Johnny, needs a new pair of pants or something. They might want to be a little bit more discreet about that. The front office can always call their cell phone. So it gives them that capability to offset the requirements for what each school would need in the particular classroom by having that talkback speaker in there paired with that remote call button. Because at the press of that remote call button, the speaker can call a predetermined number, typically the front office in a school scenario, and you can have that full duplex conversation, or in some other modes, we also have a Vox capability or a push to talk option for those kind of louder, more challenging environments. Finally, I just kind of want to highlight a nice little chart that we have here for anybody watching the YouTube video. Go ahead and pause here and you can get a good description of all of the different speaker options that we have in terms of their functionality and the different feature sets that they have, as well as the actual audio output measured with a regular SPL meter at 1 meter when we actually run that test. So that way you can get a good idea of the actual sound output from these guys and the difference between, say, our kind of standard or lower offering and our more premium option, which really isn't that much. And it gives you a good idea at the different volume output at the different power levels that you could have with these particular speakers. This is also available on our website, and we'll have a link down below. Finally, to just pick the right speaker, mixing and matching is honestly one of the best things that you can do with our wide catalog of speakers at CyberData, where we've got multicast speakers for areas where you don't need that individual addressability, VoIP and SIP speakers for that kind of, say, paging area where you might need a little bit more individual addressability, or you might be working on a phone system that has that SIP zoned paging capability, or for areas where you want that time capability. Of course, your break room where people are hanging out and they're instead of taking a 10-minute break, they're taking a 12. You want to have that nice, easy clock for them up there to see, but also that talkback capability, which can be really useful in areas where people might not be able to interact with a phone. Say, for example, a kitchen is a really big place where we've used a lot of these talkback speakers because chefs are busy cooking. They don't need to be touching that dirty speaker or dirty phone on the wall to, then have to go wash their hands and everything. They can just get a call from the speaker and talk and be able to communicate with the people. So with our different wide range of speakers, you have a lot of different options. And of course, when you're dealing with these very prime locations, these places where getting that notification out and having that crisp, clean audio sound, our premium speakers are going to be really good for that. But in hallways and places where you just need the sound to get out, you don't really care about the quality necessarily, use one of the more economical options. And of course, the accessory support can really specialize these speakers for different and unique scenarios. If you're dealing with, say, a classroom of hearing challenged people, one of our SIP speakers paired with a strobe kit can be really advantageous to get that visual notification out for those that might not be able to hear the speaker.
Thank you for watching this edition of Cyber School. If you have any questions, please get in contact with our sales department. They are available by email at sales@cyberdata.net or by phone at 831-373-2601 extension 334. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this from CyberData.